Mabuhay, Kamustika. Welcome. How are you? This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. Learning to speak your Filipina's love language. Have you ever thought about that? Well, that's what I'd like to go into today. What is her love language? This should become clearer after you are married. You may not need to learn Tagalog or Bisaya, but each of you has a natural love language you speak that your spouse might not. She might have a different one. She may know a few words, so to speak, but won't be as fluent as you are in your love language. You already have, these cultural differences that you will need to be familiar with and try to understand, and her love language isn't likely to match yours. Let's get into that in this video. Subscribe to Love Beyond the Sea for videos like this to really help you have a lasting marriage to any woman. I married a Filipina in 2015. lvbts.com is our website, and you can hear podcasts on Podbean on Casting Beyond the Sea. Don't forget to get notifications for upcoming videos. The 5 love languages, you may have heard of that term before, come from a book by author Gary Chapman in 1992. And I actually have either read it or bought it myself at one time. In this book, he says we all have a primary and a secondary love language. It is only natural to try to meet the needs of your wife in the way you want your own needs met. And all of these 5 categories are good, but she will find one that resonates more with her, just like you will for yourself. It is important that you know what her love language is. She can probably tell you from this list without a quiz, but a quiz can help define her language. Let's start with the first one, words of affirmation, using words to build up the other person, appreciation. Now, right off the bat, this just happens to be mine. It was before marriage, and it hasn't changed since being married. For instance, at work, if I didn't hear from the supervisor all year long, that's okay as long as they are pleased with my performance and tell me that. That's what I want. I don't want awards, trophies, or even gift certificates. Acts of kindness are appreciated, but aren't necessarily needed for me to feel satisfied in my marriage or job. Quality time is always good in a relationship, and so is touch. I tend to focus more on this first one of affirmation. I have told my Filipina wife I need her to appreciate the things I do for her and how I treat her. I was tacitly letting her know that I wanted her to tell me that I am good for her, that she appreciated me, that I needed to hear her tell me that. Having been married to her now for 5 years and 8 months, I know by now that she understands this is a crucial component of her love for me and to me. It's one thing for your spouse to try to love you in a way that she thinks you need, but another to actually be loved in the way that you need it to be expressed. And this is important to talk about during your marriage. It's okay to express that you value her positive feedback and tell you she appreciates all that you do for her. Just let her know. Since this is a strong love language of mine, I can't quite understand it not being of the same importance to my wife or other people, but that may not be the case. Because of that, I enjoy telling my wife how much she means to me and how much I appreciate all the things she does. I don't do this in order to earn her kind words, because I need to hear them, rather because I genuinely appreciate her. I value her very much. Frankly, it is difficult to know if this is important to her because she isn't likely to tell me to cut down on my compliments, because most people appreciate hearing that, don't they? If this is your Filipina's primary love language, how do you learn it? It's not as hard as teaching an old dog new tricks. Give her compliments on anything, no matter how big or small. You just need to be sure you are sincere. You mean it. Even if you're not used to doing this, don't worry if she thinks you're up to something. Just tell her that you are noticing so many things that you appreciate her. Now here's the next one. Gifts. gifts. Since this isn't very important to me, when my wife first said that she liked receiving gifts, I kind of felt a little ill. I was concerned that I would have to go through the motions of giving her some gifts, feeling like I was faking it, since it was not something that I needed. It wasn't my love language. I had in mind big, expensive gifts, but that isn't necessarily what she wants. She works full time. We both help her family. I think my wife might prefer to give a gift to her family because she can meet needs that way. It may be that by me helping her family out as well, that she sees this gift giving to her because it is helping the people most important to her, her family. They were in her life for 26 years before we got married. And it would be unreasonable for me to think I can compete with her family on an emotional level, at least not right away. I don't even worry about that. I might prefer to do public speaking more than looking for some kind of, trinket for my wife. She has told me at times not to buy roses for her because they're expensive and don't last long. I think her family back in the Philippines is who she wants gifts for more than anything. Once again, the topic of helping the family is central to the marriage. Not being stingy, putting yourself in her shoes and trying to realize why it means so much to her. I believe if you love her this way, then she will love you back, probably in your own love language over time. A third one would be acts of service. Doing something for your spouse that you know they would like. Cooking, washing dishes, vacuuming floors, etc. Maybe we are getting warmer here. I know she likes me to come upstairs and help her bring in the groceries, to help wash and dry the dishes, and certainly she likes me to make her breakfast in bed. This might be my wife's secondary language. All in all, my wife isn't unreasonable with what she needs from me. By virtue of me, foreigner, marrying a Filipina, I understand she will need me to be supportive of the needs of her family. Again, my wife gives a significant percentage of her earnings back home and asks me ahead of time if I am okay with it, and I am. I think when I help her in this way, she probably sees it as an act of service in a way that touches her heart. If this is her love language, it is important that I learn to speak it too. Another one, fourth one, quality time, undivided attention. Walking together, sitting on the couch, talking, listening. It's not quality time if you aren't paying attention, right? I would hope this would be important to anyone, but for some women, it is their primary love language. If this happens to be your Filipina's primary love language, you would need to be careful planning too many things by yourself, as you might have been used to doing when you were single. My wife doesn't like it if she comes home and I spend too much time on the internet. She wants me to eat with her. We have different shifts, so we kind of have to work that out, organize it. She likes me to sit on the sofa with her, just lay in bed with her, even if we don't talk. This is important to her. And I think the fifth one here is physical touch. I'd say this is probably my secondary one, but it's pretty close to the first one. Physical touch would be like holding hands, hugging, kissing, intercourse. These are all expressions of love. Before marriage, as you know, well, maybe you don't know, but I was alone for like 30 years. Make sure you don't tell anybody that. 30 years without a girlfriend. Of course, naturally. I was dying for physical affection, any kind, whether it be sex or non-sexual touch. I would say this was my most outstanding need, but I was without a wife. Of course, I think that would make sense. This category is very interesting to me because before marrying and after, the physical element is important to me, whether it be intercourse or a hug or something like that. I think I benefit greatly emotionally just with her touch. After being married, I'm intrigued that I now have a great need to touch my wife, to simply hold her, hug her, snuggle up to her. She might tell you it is my favorite thing to do in the whole world, and she'd be right. I enjoy it immensely, but there is more to it than that. Being physically close to her means being close to the woman I love and cherish, the woman I waited for very long before God brought us together. I'm talking about touch that I am initiating, just curling up to her throughout the night or taking a nap while she uses her phone. This kind of physical bonding was not something I could know I needed before we married. In her arms, I feel safe, happy, content, fulfilled, and hopefully she feels the same way. I can say I feel that way without her touch to a certain extent, but actually having this kind of closeness to her really solidifies these feelings. Just simply holding my wife means the world to me. The area of physical touch is also important to me as a love language when I do that to show her how precious she is to me. I don't know exactly how important it is to my wife personally, but I want her to know that it is important for me to embrace her. I'm more vocal than she is, so I think it's probably easier for her to know what's important to me. Now, I'm doing it for her, but it also benefits me. Whether it is her main love language or not, I doubt any woman doesn't appreciate various kinds of physical touch. This is a good topic to talk about with your Filipina girlfriend or wife. Mark my words, it is easy to make the mistake of trying to love someone with the same love language we speak ourselves, when it may not be the love language that she speaks. These categories help me to know what kind of love is needed by my love beyond the sea.